give more returns. Get more security and more interest on your fixed deposits from Sri Lanka's largest finance company, LOLC Finance.
Be part of the solution to make your world a better place. Don't litter. Care for your community by disposing waste properly. Refresh Sri Lanka for a civic-minded society. In association with AICPA and CIMA, CA, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka, and 99X. LMD, the voice of business.
Welcome to LMDtv. Tonight on the forum, we are revisiting International Women's Day. And with us, we have Onalie Dissanayake, who is the country head of the Chartered Institute of Marketing for Sri Lanka and the Maldives. It's very nice to have you on the show, Onalie.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be with you on this day.
Onalie, to start off our discussion, we just celebrated International Women's Day last week, and we saw that women were celebrated and female empowerment was advocated across all industries. Now, 1 week later, with years in front of us, where do we go from here?
Well, I might not be saying the most popular answers, but yes, it is important that we celebrate International Women's Day. But what we need to, in my perspective, what we need to make sure is that it doesn't, we don't limit the Women's Day to 1 day. It should be a consistency. There should be some consistency in the policies, the procedures, and things that we talk about. We should implement them. Celebrating women's achievements, companies can actually recognize, celebrate the achievements of women in their organizations and in the wider community, including through internal, external communications. That's good, but reviewing and sharing data of organizations and actually doing something very simple and accepting them for who they are or what they have done for the organization, I feel is a good thing to encourage the women who are in their organizations to perform better too. Because what I see on International Women's Days, this is from what I've seen even a week ago, females get flowers, cakes, a card saying thank you. Isn't it generalized? Am I being appreciated for me or my contribution that I've made? Shouldn't it be something like that, appreciating your contribution to the organization or your contribution to the society? Instead of, okay, I've given a gift, I've given everyone a flower, so we've done our part. Shouldn't we be supporting more women-owned businesses on that day? Shouldn't we, as companies, decide to support more female entrepreneurs who are struggling? Things like that. Shall we not stick to talking about it and implementing it? So, with, as you said, with years to go in front of us, I think there are some simple changes that we can make to move mountains.
Onalie, I think you hit the nail right on the head, because it's just, there's a danger that it's all being very commercialized. So I think you have some very, very valid points there. Looking at something closer to home, you're the country head for the Chartered Institute of Marketing for Sri Lanka and the Maldives. Looking at Sri Lanka's marketing fraternity, how do you see the evolution of women in terms of the roles that they played in marketing? And do you think the female voice is loud enough in marketing in Sri Lanka?
Well, compared to what it was, yes, we have progressed. And there are some females who are really loud, who are making their point very strong in a male-dominant community like ours. But saying that, when you actually look at it proportionately, it's about 10%. How many female leaders do we see in the leadership roles? So that is a sad thing. I mean, even though there are more females coming into marketing and a lot more contribution towards it, it is sad that the same proportion of those who are in the junior categories doesn't go to the senior level. So that is something that is concerning. But saying that again, I would say, yes, we have progress. We as females, we have progress. There are lots of very known females who are taking very prominent spots in Sri Lanka. That it has to be encouraged. And I think as leaders also, we also need to give that supporting hand to the juniors to let them know that it's okay. You will struggle, but there's someone there to hold your hand, to guide you through, to reach that top.
You spoke of female leaders, and any examples globally, locally, or best practices that you can share with us for those who have really broken that ceiling?
Well, I don't think I need to go very far, but in Sri Lanka, we have people like Sandra, Kasturi, so many who had actually done so much. It's only 2 names. That doesn't mean that there aren't many. There are many more. But yes, internationally, there are certain things, yes, that we can use in our places. For example, we can start doing more mentorships and sponsorship opportunities for female marketing professionals with more junior professionals who can provide guidance and support. Like, for example, if I'm there, I should also encourage another person to learn, because we have come here through experience. So it doesn't mean that everybody has to go through the same difficulty. We should be able to support them so that they overcome those hurdles, since we already have that experience. And the leadership development programs that offer women the opportunity to build their skills and knowledge is needed. We need to provide that knowledge and skill. And we have to promote work-life balance now in international organizations, even at CIM. If you really look at it, we have work-life balance. There is a lot more flexibility. So it gives us the confidence that the management supports us as a woman. So that makes you want to thrive, that makes you want to work, that makes you want to progress with that company and contribute positively. So that is what we also need to do. We need to look at all the other organizations and take what is best and not put it on paper. I will be highlighting this on a few occasions. We shouldn't just put it on paper. We have a lot of things on paper, but we should actually implement them.
Definitely, Onalie. I mean, definitely speak louder than words, and we need a lot of action right now, I think. Going into a slightly different area, this year's Women's Day theme was digital, how we should use innovation and technology for gender equality. How relevant is this for Sri Lanka in terms of the marketing profession?
Well, honestly speaking, the pandemic created that awareness. It's not that digital wasn't there. Now, for example, in CIM, we've been working online and having meetings for the last 10 years, right? It was there. It's just that we did not adapt to it. We did not accept, and we had that mindset that probably working online would not work. Yes, there are certain areas that might not work. There are certain areas that might work. So we need to see a balance. So what we can do is, as a society, we can leverage innovation and technology to create more equitable and inclusive world, empowering women and girls to reach their full potential. First, on a base level, technology can be used to improve access to education, especially providing access to women and girls in remote or underserved areas. We have lots of that in Sri Lanka. Online learning platforms, digital libraries, e-learning tools. They provide a lot of flexibility and affordable options for people to access education. This is not only for women. I believe it is for any underprivileged person. So this will also encourage more women, because women do not go to study or work because they believe that their primary responsibility is towards their children, or being a mother, taking care of the house. So if you have the digital platforms, them being able to access these, they will have more opportunities to learn, to become more developed, to become more knowledgeable, and to be able to contribute to the society in return. Because as you already know, we have more females in our country than males. So most of our workforce are females. If we don't utilize it, it is a burden on all of us as a country. So we need to make sure that we educate them, develop them, and provide them with access to learn STEM subjects, especially because women are not prone into technological areas. So we need to encourage it. True that there are more women coming in, but comparatively it's less. So we need to use this digital. Instead of saying digital, let's make it digital, and let us use these platforms for a better Sri Lanka.
Definitely. And you touched on some very valid points there, especially regarding equity and, inclusivity. How do you see this in terms of marketing? Especially when we're talking about using digital innovation, and given today's economic crisis, what are the focus areas that the marketing fraternity should be looking at when we are driving gender equality?
Tough question. Right. Gender equality through digital innovation in marketing, especially with this particular economic crisis, right? Data is actually the key foundation. We have a lot of data in our hands, but do we use it? That is a question that everybody needs to question in their own organizations. All of us have loads of data. So digital marketing and its importance is it was created during the pandemic. We know that it was a requirement, right? So instead of gender stereotyping or gender biases, the marketers should use different ways of promoting, advertising to show inclusivity, right? Now, as digital innovation becomes more of a focal point in marketing, we must ensure that we use digital channels to create campaigns that are greater gender inclusive and represent a diverse range of perspectives. This can involve using images, languages, reflect gender diversity. We are so used to seeing a woman in most of the advertisements. Do we have to? Shouldn't we include men? Why are we having gender biases? Because personalizing marketing content is a great way to market, yes, and more relevant and engaging. With the new tools available for audience segmentation, and the marketers can focus on their audiences by gender and create target messaging, right? But driving engagement and improving the ROI is important. So they need to get engaged more, but we need to come out of that stereotype thing and look at it differently. But looking at the advertisements and advertising campaigns now, yes, we have come out of it to a certain extent. But are we totally out, or are we still stuck in that period where we thought seeing a woman makes a man buy? It doesn't work anymore.
But that mindset is so difficult to change, I think, in consumers, marketers, and advertisers, everyone across the board. Lots of work, like you said, a lot of action needed. It's time to take a short break. And when we return, we'll come back to talking about International Women's Day with Onalie Dissanayake.
Display your brand message on digital screens at prime locations. The largest digital advertising network in Sri Lanka. Emerging Media.
You're mobile, and so are we.
Gets me going. Grab the Light 87 app at the Apple App Store or Google Play now.
87.8 and 87.6 island-wide. Light 87.
Welcome to LMDtv. We have Onalie Dissanayake, who is the country head for CIM for Sri Lanka and the Maldives. Onalie, looking at a different angle now, this year we've been talking a lot of equity over equality, and that's the hashtag also for International Women's Day, Embrace Equity. How can the marketing profession in Sri Lanka go beyond looking for equality and actually look at embracing equity?
As marketers, we can promote the importance of embracing equity in several ways. We can incorporate equity into brand messaging, highlighting their commitment to equity and inclusion. This in turn actually attracts the customers who share companies' values. Now, when you look at certain international brands, they promote values of organizations. I don't want to mention brand names, but they promote only values, sometimes not even their product. But we go with those brands because we see that the value has some importance to us. So we can start that inclusion in that way by embracing equity. We can support diverse representation in marketing by supporting campaigns that include a range of genders, races, ethnicities in their advertising. Why can't we do that? This can help to challenge stereotypes and promote more inclusive messaging. I mean, organizations and marketing teams can partner with organizations promoting equity and social justice. And more than anything, employer branding. If we are going to embrace equity and make marketing profession a profession for women, how do we promote it? We need to promote our organizations because that is also marketing. Employer branding, attracting and retaining talent, the company reputations, all those are important. So why can't we brand our organization saying, we are an inclusive organization. We respect everyone. You can work with freedom and flexibility. So these are some areas that we can work on. I hope I answered your question there. A lot of things there.
Of course, because I think everyone talks about brands and products, but like you said, the employer branding part really makes a big difference. Thank you, Onalie. Onalie, I'm going to touch on something closer to home, and also you touched on this, the value of education in marketing. When we look at marketing education in Sri Lanka, can you share some insights with us on the proportion of women who are interested in pursuing the qualifications?
Well, interestingly, in most of our graduations, we have around 55% female students. Right? We did a research in 2021, and in that, encouragingly, nearly half, that means 46% of the students, who between age 16 and 24 were females, and they chose marketing as a top career choice. Then when we did it last year, unfortunately, it had gone down because it is 31% males and 26% females. So when you actually look at it, there are females who are coming into marketing, who wants to study, but there are cultural biases that stops them from getting involved in marketing. Because if you actually ask your mom or your dad what marketing is, someone in that age range, people will still say marketing is going from door to door selling something, which we know that it isn't. Marketing is totally different. So people are still under that impression of selling. So I think we need a cultural change that is inclusive.
And this cultural change, like you said, it's not an easy task to do this change, but what do you think the marketing education institutes can do to ensure that there is a shift, at least in the next generation?
Well, any education institute can address and these biases by acknowledging that it exists. First, we need to acknowledge that it exists, because unless we acknowledge it, we cannot solve it. So once we acknowledge it, we have to provide training to our faculty and staff on how to mitigate it. This can involve workshops and training programs and things like that, and talking about it. And more than that, we need to make sure that when students come to our institutes, that they feel inclusive, that they feel safe, that they can go to somebody and talk if they have some issue. So for that, the institutes should include policies for inclusion. But not only policies, they have to make sure that it's implemented. And then in the management, of people who are in the management, they should have a balance of females and males, so that they feel that they can comfortably come and talk to a person. So those are some things that we can, as institutes, do. We can provide them with support, provide them with flexible hours now, even at CIM. We allow flexibility in study, the modules. We allow them taking a module each. It is not only for females, but even for males, because, even though we are talking about International Women's Day today, people do, whether it's a man or a woman, they do have their own issues. So they might not be able to do the same thing in a very rigid environment. So institutes need to provide that flexibility for them to complete a course, not just to start. Because an institute's recognition stands on the number of graduates. Because as you and I both know, it's word of mouth, still for all, for a qualification. If somebody is there says that it's a qualification that you would recommend, I won't do it. I won't read about it and do it.
The basics still stand.
Yes.
Onalie, we are coming to a close now, but before we end off our conversation, there's something very close to our hearts at LMD. So we recently launched a campaign called Refresh Sri Lanka to encourage a more civic-minded society through a mindset change, like you were talking about. Looking at marketing and the marketing fraternity, how should marketers, women and men, really embrace equity while, of course, ensuring that civic-mindedness is also in the agenda?
Right. Now, we must create the right conditions for both men and women. When we talk about Women's Day, I had a person coming up to me and asking, when is the Men's Day? So I think in a point, males also feel a little intimidated or uncomfortable with the fact that there are certain issues of men also not addressed. So I think where men and women are both to thrive, this needs a structural change, such as policies for flexible working hours, childcare support, career development, things like that. So equal opportunities are not enough to ensure true fairness, because women start from different levels, and so does men. So true inclusion and civic mindedness requires equitable action. It should create conditions for both to thrive through structural changes, I would say. It's the structural changes of such as policies that needs to have the flexibility, and career development paths and mentoring and sponsorship programs are very important. So I think what you all have done is great. So let us hope that at least some of us follow your footsteps and join in the bandwagon to keep these structural changes and policies, so that probably not to tomorrow, but at least in another 10 years, the children of the future will have some sort of inclusion and civic mindedness, so that they feel that they are responsible citizens and that they need to include everyone, irrespective whether it's a man or a woman.
So true, so true. And thank you so much. We love the campaign ourselves, and I mean, it's a very different thing. So we ask everyone their views on it. Thank you so much. That was very, very structural change. Definitely on the top priority list for Sri Lanka across the board. Onalie, before I let you go, any closing thoughts that you would like to share with our audience today?
Well, closing thoughts is, good that companies are doing something for Women's Day. At least they are paying attention to that. But can we change instead of a cupcake? Can we write just one note? I know the HR cannot do it for companies that have thousands, 10,000s of people, but a line manager can write one line saying, thank you for staying late on a day your child was sick. Make something very simple to appreciate a woman for their commitment. And women, don't ask for equal rights. I always say this. Don't ask for equal rights. Ask for equal challenges and show them that we can.
Amazing. I love that. I love that phrase. Thank you. Thank you very much, Onalie. It's been such a pleasure talking to you. It's been really nice.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being in the program and a fan of LMD. So thank you once again for having me in the show.
We've been talking to Onalie Dissanayake, who is the country head of the Chartered Institute of Marketing for Sri Lanka and the Maldives. Thank you very much for joining us, Onalie. And thank you to our viewers for joining us. Until next time, take care.
Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for watching and stay safe.